Okay. Good morning, students. Today we are going to start new chapter, wave optics. So wave optics are physical optics. Now already we have discussed in the previous unit, previous chapter about the ray optics or geometrical optics, which is based on Newton's corpuscular theory, and this wave optics or physical optics deals with the physical phenomena of light and deal with the properties of reflection, refraction, interference, diffraction and polarization. And this is based on, wave optics is based on Huygens wave theory. Okay, now we discuss about the assumptions of Huygens wave theory. Okay. So this particular wave optics is based on Huygens wave theory of light. So the assumptions of Huygens wave theory, that means this theory was introduced by Huygens, and according to Huygens hypothesis, light travels in the form of waves. That means mode of wave transformation, mode of wave motion transmits light energy from one point to another point by the vibrations of the particles of the medium about their mean positions. So light travels, so the main assumption of this wave theory is light travels in the form of waves, and first assumption is wave, and second one is he assumed that for the transmission of a wave a medium is necessary. So for the transmission of, he assumed the light as a mechanical wave. For the propagation of mechanical wave a medium is necessary. So for that the supporters of this wave theory of light has forced to assume a medium called ether, a hypothetical medium called ether. So, and this ether pervades all over the space. That means they assumed that this whole universe is immersed in ether. And further, they assumed that this ether is a massless and invisible medium. So this ether is a massless and invisible medium. And the next assumption made one by Huygens that differ from Newton corpuscular theory is Huygens assumed that velocity of light or light travels fast in rarer medium compared to denser. So velocity of light is greater in rarer medium and less in denser medium. These are the main assumptions made by Huygens. So Huygens wave theory is, the assumptions are light travels in the form of waves. When light wave propagates through a medium, the particles as any, for not only for light waves, for any wave, when the wave propagates through a medium, the particles of the medium execute simple harmonic motion about their mean position. And second assumption is they assumed the wave as a mechanical wave. So for the mechanical propagation of mechanical wave, a medium is necessary, and for that they assumed a medium called ether, which is assumed to be massless and invisible. And the third assumption of Huygens is velocity of light is more in rarer medium compared to denser medium. And these are the main assumptions of Huygens. Huygens wave theory successfully explained the properties of reflection, refraction, interference, diffraction and polarization. But The main two drawbacks for this Huygens wave theory is, first one, the velocity of light is greater in rarer medium, because this, which is in exactly opposite assumption that of Newton's theory. So this conflict was ended by Foucault by his rotating mirror experiment, proved that velocity of light is greater in rarer medium compared to denser medium. So this was ended, and another one is ether, existence of ether. So the existence of ether was disproved by Michelson-Morley experiment. So there is no ether experimentally proved. So to overcome these difficulties, next Maxwell introduced the concept of electromagnetic wave nature of light. So according to Maxwell, light is the form of electromagnetic wave. That means whenever light travels in a particular medium, its electrical and magnetic properties varies. Electromagnetic wave is generated due to the variation of electric and magnetic fields in two mutually perpendicular directions, which is also perpendicular to the direction of propagation of light. So Maxwell proved that electromagnetic waves, whereas electromagnetic waves are non-mechanical waves, so they won't need any medium for its propagation. That's why light, even though from sun to earth there is vacuum, even though light reaches the earth, sunlight reaches the earth. So this is due to electromagnetic wave. So in this way, this Huygens wave theory successfully explained, wave theory of light successfully explained these properties. Now we discuss the Huygens principle. Okay. Now, before going to the Huygens principle of constructing wavefront, we just recollect about the properties of waves. As we know, when a wave propagates through the medium, the particles of the medium cannot displace from their main positions, but they execute simple harmonic motion about their mean positions. Suppose at a particular instant of time, this is the waveform in that medium like this. We know that this distance is the wavelength of the wave. That means the distance traveled by a wave during one complete cycle is wavelength lambda. Now, this is the waveform at a particular instant of time where the particles of the medium, which is the line or curve joining all the particles of the medium which are executing simple harmonic motion. Suppose when a waveform at a particular instant of time is like this, suppose first particle may be here, second particle, third particle, fourth one, fifth particle, sixth, 7, 8, 9. Like this, assume these are the particles. That means at a particular instant of time, this particular first particle starts vibrating and it transfers the vibration to second particle, then it starts executing simple harmonic motion and it transfers the disturbance to the third one and it transfers to the fourth one and it to the fifth one. In this way, the disturbance created in a medium at a particular point is transmitted through the medium and the particle starts executing simple harmonic motion. Now at a particular instant of time, this second particle is this position and this is at the extreme position like this, and fourth particle is at this position, fifth particle is at rest, sixth particle has a displacement, seventh one is at mean extreme position like this. Now if we consider another particle like this, 10, 11, 12, assume that this is a 12th particle and this is third particle. If we observe that as the wave propagates through the medium, different particles vibrate with different at a particular instant of time, they will, while executing simple harmonic motion, they possess different displacements from their mean position. Now, if we consider this third particle and 12th particle, which are at both at the extreme positions like this, suppose after a certain time t, they may be at their mean positions like this. So after certain time, they may be, this third particle may be at mean position. Suppose 1 and 2 are like this. Now this 12th particle also at the mean position. That means at any particular instant of time, this third particle and 12th particle are at the same displacements, are at same state of vibration. So these two particles which are vibrating in the same state of vibration, possess same state of vibration, they are said to be vibrating in same phase. That means whenever this particle is at the mean position, this particle will also be at the mean position. Whenever this particle is at this lower extreme, this will be at the lower extreme. That means at any instant of time, both this third particle and 12th particle, for example I am saying, these two particles will be same state of vibration and they are said to be in same phase. That means phase means which represents the state of vibration of the particles executing simple harmonic motion. In a simple harmonic motion, we represent the wave equation as y is equal to a sine kx minus omega t. This kx is minus omega t is the phase which represents the state of vibration. Now we know that sine function repeats its value after every 2 pi, isn't it? That means we know that sine 0, sine pi by 2 is 1, sine pi is 0 and sine 3 pi by 2 is minus 1 and again sine 2 pi is 0. Or if we take like this, another values like this, 2 pi, this is 5 pi by 2, 3 pi, 7 pi by 2, 4 pi. Like, assume that like this. Now, this is one complete cycle. After this 2 pi, again the same values repeat. Suppose if you take this particular point pi by 2, again this particular is pi by 2. The difference between these two, 5 pi by 2 minus pi by 2, that is 4 pi by 2, that is 2 pi. That means for every 2 pi difference or period, this sign value repeats. Similarly, that means these two particles has a phase difference of 2 pi. That means if two particles are vibrating in same phase, means the difference in their phase is 2 pi. Suppose if you consider another particle, that may be at 4 pi. So any two particles vibrating in same phase means they are even multiples of pi. If any two particles which are vibrating out of phase means they are phase difference between them is odd multiples of pi, that is 2n plus pi, this is phase out, and 2n pi for same phase. Okay. Now these two particles, now we consider these two particles which are vibrating in same phase. That means their phase difference is delta phi is equal to 2 pi. But they are separated by a distance equal to lambda. Because whether it is here to here it is lambda, then here to here it is also lambda. That means if two particles are vibrating in same phase means they are separated by a distance equal to wavelength lambda. You have to remember this. So if two particles are vibrating in same phase, two consecutive particles, exactly say we can say is two consecutive particles which are vibrating in same phase means they are separated by a distance equal to lambda. Now from this we can write, for a lambda distance the phase difference is 2 pi. That means two particles separated by a distance lambda, the phase difference between them is 2 pi. Now for 1 meter distance separated by 1 meter distance, the phase difference will be 2 pi by lambda, because for lambda it is 2 pi means for 1 meter it is 2 pi by lambda. Suppose two particles are separated by a distance delta x. Two particles separated by a distance delta x, then the phase difference is given by 2 pi by lambda into delta x, because for 1 meter it is 2 pi by lambda, for a delta x meters it is 2 pi by lambda into delta x. So we have arrived a relation that phase difference is equal to, phase difference delta phi is equal to 2 pi by lambda into path difference, that is 2 pi by lambda delta x. So you have to remember this relation. So delta phi is equal to 2 pi by lambda into delta x, or phase difference is equal to 2 pi by lambda into path difference. So that means if two particles have same separation, suppose if consider three particles like this, if the separation between them is delta x and separation between them is also delta x, then the phase difference between these two particles is same, and phase difference between these two particles is also same. That means phase difference is same for two particles when they are separated by a distance delta x. That means same path difference. So you have to remember this equation. Okay, you have to remember that what is phase means. Phase gives the state of vibration of the particle executing simple harmonic motion, and two consecutive particles which are vibrating in same phase means they are separated by a distance equal to wavelength of the light, wavelength, and the phase difference between any two particles which are vibrating in same phase means their phase difference is even multiple of pi. Okay. Now the relation between the distance, phase difference and path difference is, phase difference is equal to 2 pi by lambda into path difference. Okay. Now we define the wave front. We define wave front. So wave front means it is the locus of all points which are vibrating in same phase. Locus of all points which are vibrating in same phase. That means if we draw a curve joining all the points in the medium which are vibrating in same phase, that gives the wave front. That means that particular curve or shape gives the wave front. So assume that this is a, now we'll explain that wave front. Suppose this is a point source. Assume that this is a point source. Point source means it gives out all the waves are emitted from a single point. So this is a point source. Assume that this is a point source S. Now as it emits waves or disturbances in the medium in all directions. Suppose assume that in this particular direction we assume a particle here. In this direction assume a particle, assume like a particle like this. Suppose assume that the first particle is P1, second particle is P2. Assume that the distance between S2 P1 and S2 P2 is same. That means this P1 and P2 are same distance from this point S. As the wave propagates through the medium at a particular instant of time, this particular point, this may be the phase, suppose the phase difference between these two particles is like this. Like this. So assume that this particular P1 is at an extreme position. That means as it vibrating, that means there are number of particles in this line, along this line, and there are number of particles along this line also, and those particles are also vibrating or executing simple harmonic motion. But at a particular instant of time, if we consider this particular P1 is in the extreme position, and suppose that it is also same extreme position, because these two are separated by same distance, because we have got an equation that phase difference is equal to 2 pi by lambda into path difference delta x. That means the distance between these two particles, assume that is delta x, and this S1, S2, P2 is also delta x. Then if delta x is same, that means the distance to the source to this particular point is delta x is same, and that of S2, P2 is also same. Then the state of vibration of this particle and this particle is exactly same, because they are vibrating in same phase. Because as they are separated by same distance from this source S, therefore the phase difference between the phase of the two particles also same. That means if the phase of the particles is same, means their vibrating states is same. Now if we draw a line joining all the points which are vibrating in same phase, so which will be, clearly we can say, which are at same distance from this particular S will be in same phase. That means suppose assume that this is a Q1 particle, Q2 particle, which are at the same distance from Q2, S. So all these particles which are at same distance from S will have same phase. They are vibrating same phase, that means their state of vibration is same. So if we draw a line joining all these particular points which are vibrating in same phase, gives the wavefront at that particular instant. So wavefront means the locus of all points which are vibrating in same phase. Okay, and the second point of Huygens principle of constructing wavefront is, and according to Huygens, every point on the wavefront is the source of secondary wavelets. That means if we consider every point on this wavefront, it gives out secondary light waves, and those light waves are called secondary wavelets. That means this particular source S is a primary source, and all the points in this wavefront are source of secondary wavelets. That means this emits light waves like this emits in all directions, this emits in all directions, this emits. So this is the second principle, that every point on this wavefront is the source of secondary wavelets. Okay, so by Huygens principle, we can determine the position of the wavefront at any instant if we know the position at a particular instant. Suppose if we know the position of the particular instant, then we can find out the position of the wavefront at any instant of time. So how we can locate that? See. So assume that this is the point source S. Assume that this is the point source S from which the waves are emitting from this single point. Suppose if we consider all the particles which are at same distance x at a particular instant from this point source, then there will be in same phase, because they are all in same distance. So they are in same phase. So line joining all these one, you can get the wavefront at that particular instant. Suppose according to, we have to find the location of the wavefront after certain time t. Okay, assume that this is the distance x at a particular instant of time. Now to locate the position of the wavefront after a time t from this position, how we can locate is by Huygens principle. So every point on this source is on this wavefront is the source of secondary wavelets. So assume a point like this here. So the distance traveled by this wave in a time t is its velocity into time, distance equal to velocity into time. So assume that here we are assuming the light wave. So assume the velocity of light in air is c, so ct. Now if we draw an arc like this, ct equal to ct. Now from this point also we draw an arc like this. From this point we draw an arc like this. All these are equal to ct. Now the tangent of all these common terms gives the position of secondary wavelets. The location of the wavefront after a time t. Okay, what we heard on is point source S at a particular instant of time, the position of the wavefront is this. That means assume that this is W. To locate the position after t seconds or after duration t, we have to take the distance CT as the radius, and from this particular point we draw an arc like this, and from this point we also are the same, like, because these all the points on this wavefront are secondary sources, or source of secondary wavelets. So we draw these curves so that the common tangent of all this common curve joining all these arcs or these positions gives the position of the wavefront after a duration of time t seconds. Now after another time t dash, we have to consider again the every point on this we will get like this arcs, we will draw like this, and this distance equal to ct dash. So if we join all these curves, we get the position of the wavefront at that particular instant of time. So if we know the position of wavefront at a particular instant of time, we can determine at any instant of time like this way. Now if you observe that from this point source, now this is the one. Now in this side also we can get the same. So as this particular source gives out waves in all directions in 3 dimensions, if we consider equal distances from this particular point sources which are vibrating in same phase. So all the particles which are at the same distance from the source S in 3 dimensions gives the position of the wavefront. So that particular wavefront is appears to be sphere, because all the particles are at the same distance from a source S. So that particular wavefront is spherical in shape, and as that propagates through the medium, it appears to be an expanded sphere. So this is first the position of the wavefront is like this, and after a certain time it increases, it is like this, and after like this. So from particular point source S, the wavefront propagating through the medium is just like an expanding sphere. So the wavefront due to a point source is spherical. That means the envelope of all these wavelets, the particles on this wavefront appears to be sphere. So you have to remember this one as the wavefront due to a point source is spherical. Now similarly, if we consider an extended source like this, extended source means every point on this source is a point source, just like our tube light. So every point on this is a point source. That means every point sends out waves in all directions. So if we consider this point source, extended source, and we draw arcs of radius equal to ct after particular time t, so we will get an arcs like this in the similar direction, in this direction also, in this direction also. So after certain time t dash, this expands like this. That means this particular wavefront appears to be in a form of cylinder, so expanding cylinder. So the cylindrical wavefront is due to an extended source. So for a point source it is spherical wavefront, and for an extended source it is a cylindrical wavefront. Now consider that when the source of light is at larger distance, suppose this is the point source emitting light waves. So these are that means the wavefront is like this, as it is expanding with the increasing radius like this. Now we consider a small region like this. Now in this region, this wavefront appears to be curved like this, when that particular position is very close to the source. But if we consider it a large distance from the source, between these region, this line appears to be a straight line. It is not appears to be curved. So for curve we can draw only like this. We draw like this again. That means this waves appears in this region, the light travels to be in straight lines like this, and this wavefront is called plane wavefront. That means plane wavefront means parallel rays of light. So this is due to the source at larger distance. So whether it is a point source or an extended source, when it is far away from the observation, this wavefront corresponds to a plane wavefront. So we have three types of wavefronts. Now we recollect that wavefront means the locus of all points which are vibrating in same phase. So for a particular point source, we will get a spherical wavefront like this, and for an extended source, we will get a cylindrical wavefront. A plane wavefront is obtained when the source is at larger distance. So you have to remember these three. So whenever you come across with a spherical wavefront, that means the source is a point source. If the wavefront is cylindrical, we have to consider that the source is extended source. When we consider a plane wavefront, means source may be either it may be a extended or a point source, but it is at a larger distance from point of observation. Now we will explain the reflection of plane wavefront. So Huygens explanation of plane wavefront. Plane wavefront means parallel rays. Suppose this is the reflecting surface. Now a plane wavefront is incident on this. So assume that this is ray number 1 and ray number 2 of the plane wavefront. Now if we draw the perpendicular distance, because these two rays are parallel, this is the perpendicular distance between them. Now this plane wavefront, that means we have considered only the extreme rays. The rays in between them we are not considering here. So we are considering first and second ray, which are at the extremes of the plane wavefront. So these two plane wavefront is incident on this reflecting surface. Assume that this is GH. GH is the reflecting surface. Now when it is incident like this, when this first ray is incident at A, second ray is not incident on the reflecting surface. So assume that this may be at the position B. When the first ray is in contact with this reflecting surface, that means it is incident on the first reflecting surface, ray 2 is at the position B. Okay. Now if it takes a time t seconds to reach the ray from B to C, where it is at C. Assume that t is the time taken to travel from B to C. Then BC is equal to velocity of light in the medium into t. The distance BC is equal to velocity of light into in that particular medium into time taken. So BC is equal to t. That means if we take a distance equal to Vt, now if we draw a circle from this position with a distance or radius equal to Vt, like this, assume that like this. Now we are drawing from A circle of radius equal to Vt or radius equal to Bc. That means the duration in which the distance travelled from B to C in a time t. Now, in the same time t, as the reflected wave is in the same medium, that's why we take v as the same velocity and time as same. That means if it reaches a particular d like this, the tangent to this particular one, remember that the light wave energy is propagated normal to the wavefront. Normal to the wavefront. That means this is the tangent and normal is this. So in this way it travels like this. And from this it travels. So ray 2. Okay. Now, first a parallel ray is incident on this reflecting surface GH. As the ray A incident at A, the ray B at the position B. It takes a time t to incident at C. So means second ray takes a time t to reach from B to C. Then that B to C is BC is equal to V into t. Now in the same time t, this A also travels in the same medium because it is reflected means in the same medium. So it also travels with the same velocity V. Now if we take a circle of radius equal to Vt, that means equal to BC. If we draw an arc like this, now the tangent at this position is equal to this, joining this tangent to C. This gives the wavefront, reflected wavefront. Okay. Now the rays in between B and C, because we have considered the rays, parallel rays. So the rays in between B and C, A and B are reflected from A and C. From different points of A and C, and they will be in this position in the reflected light as in between B and C. Okay. So the light rays which are in between this ray, first ray and second ray, are in between B and A, are incident in between A and C and are reflected from A and C, which are in the wavefront, they are in the position in between B and C. Okay. Now assume that this is the ray of the first ray and this is the reflected ray of second ray. Okay, assume that this point is D. So here it is right angle and here it is also right angle because this is the perpendicular distance AB. Here CD is the perpendicular distance between these two parallel rays. Okay. Now draw a normal here like this N. Assume that this normal N at A. Then the angle between the incident ray and normal is angle of incidence I. And here the reflected light is this one. A to D line is the reflected one. So the angle between these two is angle of reflection R. Okay. So normal to reflected rays are reflection angle of reflection R, and normal and incident ray is angle of incidence I. Now we have to show that this I is equal to R. That is the principle law of reflection, how this plane wavefront obeys. Now as you know, this is 90 degree and this is 90 degree. Here we have two triangles, ABC and ADC. Okay. Now we have to find the angle A in ABC. In triangle ABC, the angle A, that means BAC is equal to, see how, that means this is the BAB, that means angle between AB and AC, this is AC. So this angle, that means from this to this angle is ABC. How we can get is, see, the first ray and this normal, the angle between the normal and the incident ray is I. Now we know that the angle between two lines is same between is the angle between the same lines is same that of their normals. That means angle between two lines is equal to the angle between their normals. That means this is the ray 1 and whose normal, whose perpendicular line is AB. Okay. That means normal, and this one is I. So the ray number 1 is perpendicular to AB, and this normal is perpendicular to AC. Okay, you see, AN is perpendicular to AC, and this ray is perpendicular to AB. That means if the angle between the normal, this line, and I is I, then their perpendiculars also will have the same angle. That means its perpendicular is AC and its perpendicular is AB. That means the same angle. That means the angle between AB and AC is equal to I. Therefore, this angle is I. Okay? That means angle between the two lines is equal to the angle between their normals or perpendiculars. So if the ray number 1 is perpendicular to AB and AN is perpendicular to AC, so the angle between these two is also equal to angle between these two. So in triangle ABC, angle A is I. Now consider the triangle ADC. This triangle ADC. In this triangle ADC, the angle between A here, this is ADC. That means the angle between this AN and AD is equal to R, this one. This is AD, so this is AD. So the angle between AN and AD is R. That means this angle, remaining angle is 90 minus R. So angle A in the triangle ADC, (90 minus R). Okay, this angle is 90 minus R. Because this angle is R, so this angle is 90 minus R. Now in this triangle, angle D is 90. So in this triangle, therefore from triangle ADC, angle A plus angle D plus angle C is equal to 180, as we know, the total angle in the triangle. So but A is equal to 90 minus R plus angle D is 90 plus angle C is equal to 180. Now we can cancel out 180 as this. So that means angle C is equal to R. That means angle C in the triangle ADC. That means this is AD and DC triangle. So this angle is equal to R. Angle C in this triangle ADC is equal to R. Now we have to, now this ABC and ADC are congruent triangles. Are congruent, and AC is common to both the triangles, and B and D are right angles, and AD is equal to BC, because we have taken AD as equal to the radius of, AD is the radius, we have taken it as BT. Therefore are congruent, angle B equal to angle D equal to 90 and BC is equal to AD. So these two are congruent triangles, so that AB is equal to AD is equal to BC. So these two angles are also equal. That means angle BAC is equal to angle ACD. That means this is I equal to R. So in this way I can explain the reflection. Okay. See once again. So parallel beam of light is incident on a reflecting surface GH such that when the first ray reaches the point A, second ray is at the point B. So that while it reaches to the point C in a time t, then the distance traveled by the light from B to C is Vt. Then in that time duration t, if we consider a circle of radius equal to Vt and we draw a curve arc like this, that means AD is also equal to BC. So AD is also equal to BC. Now if we draw the tangent D at D which joins C, and this DC gives the plane wavefront, which is reflected wavefront. So all the points which are in between this A and C are reflected from A and C, which are in between D and C in the reflected wavefront. Okay. Now we have two triangles ABC and ADC, and this is the normal, the angle between the normal and this first ray is angle of incidence, and this is the reflected ray, and angle between these two is R. So to find out the angle I, angle A in the triangle ADC, we consider that the angle I, the angle between the two lines is always equal to the angle between their perpendiculars. In that way we got this I is I. So in the triangle ABC we got angle A is I. And from this triangle ADC we got angle A in this ADC is 90 minus R, and the total angle in triangle ADC is equal to 180. So from that we get C equal to R. As these two triangles are congruent, so these and B and D are right angles, and BC and AD are equal, so that the other two angles are also equal, that is I is equal to R. In this way we explain the reflection of plane wavefront. Now we explain the refraction of plane wavefront. Now consider refraction of wavefront, plane wavefront. Now this is the surface separating two different medium. This is medium number 1 and this is medium number 2. So this is the surface GH. Assume that GH is the surface separating two different mediums. Now light is a plane wavefront is incident like this, similar in the previous case, like this. So this is ray number 1 and this is ray number 2 is incident like this on this refracting surface here, or the surface separating the two medium. Now you consider this is normal. Now if you draw a perpendicular like this, that means the first ray is incident on the surface at A. At that particular position, the second ray is at the point B. Now it reaches to C in a time, assume that in a time t. Okay. When the first ray reaches the point A, second ray is at the position B. After t seconds, this particular ray from point B reaches C. Now during this time period t, the ray incident at A already enters into the second medium. That means it gets refracted. Okay. That means the second ray, when it reaches from B to C, the first ray already enters into this, during that time it enters into the second medium. Now we consider the same time t. That means in a time t, the second ray reaches from B to C, the first ray enters into the second medium and it travels certain distance. Now what is the distance travelled in the second medium and what is the distance travelled from B to C? Now it is travelled reaches in a time t, means B to C. Assume that velocity of light in the first medium is v1 and second medium is v2, because in a different medium velocity travels with different velocities. So assume that the velocity of light in the first medium is v1, second medium is v2. Now in a time t, it reaches from B to C, means B to C is equal to v1 into t, because distance is equal to velocity into time. So the distance BC is equal to v1 into t. But in this time t seconds, the first ray enters into the second medium and it travels a distance equal to v2 into t, because in the same time it travels with a velocity equal to v2. So the distance travelled by this ray, first ray in the second medium, is equal to v2t. Okay, during this time period t, first ray reaches from B to C with a velocity v1, so that BC is equal to v1t. In this time, first ray enters into the second medium and travels a distance v2 into t. Now, if we take v2 into t as a radius, we draw an arc like this, and the tangent joining this point to C gives the wavefront like this. Okay, actually this must be a right angle like this. Now a line like this. So here it is 90 degree. So we draw a curve like this. This is D. So AD is equal to VT, V2 into T. Okay, I understand. So when a plane wavefront is incident on the refracting surface, when the first ray is at point A, that means it is on the surface, second ray is at the position B. In a time t, it reaches from B to C. In a time t, it enters into the second medium and travels with a velocity v2 and reaches at point D. Now after time t seconds, this is the position of the wavefront. Now this BC is equal to v1t and AD is equal to v2 into t. Now if this is the angle of incidence I and this is the angle of refraction R. As we know, angle of incidence is the angle between normal and incident ray. Angle of refraction is the angle between the refracted ray and normal. So this is I and this is R. Now from this triangle, this ray is perpendicular to AB. And this normal, what we can say is AN, and here it is N dash, assume that like this. So AN is perpendicular to AC. That means AN is perpendicular to AC and this first ray is perpendicular to AB. Now the angle between the first ray and AN is I, means they perpendiculars also have the same angle I. That means the perpendicular to this ray is AB and the perpendicular to AN is AC. That means the angle between these two is also equal to I. Now this is the right angle here and here it is right angle at D. Now in this triangle, if the R is the angle between the incident ray and the normal, refracted ray and normal, if this is R and this will be 90 minus R. If this is 90 minus R and this is 90, this angle is R. Okay. Now from triangle ABC, sin I is equal to, what is sin I? This is sin I and this is hypotenuse, this is opposite side. So BC by AC. Now from triangle ADC, this triangle, sin R is equal to, this is R, this is hypotenuse, this is opposite side AD, is equal to AD by AC. So that implies sin I by sin R is equal to BC by AC by AD by AC. That is BC by AD. So sin I by sin R is equal to BC by AD. But already we know that BC is equal to V1t and AD is equal to V2t. So we can write as sin I by sin R is equal to V1t by V2t. Okay. But by the definition of refractive index, we have n is equal to velocity of light by velocity of light in the medium. So we have refractive index of absolute refractive index of a medium n is equal to velocity of light in the medium, velocity of light in air or vacuum by velocity of light in that particular medium. That means from this equation, velocity of light in a medium is equal to c by n. Now we substitute here, so we can cancel out this equal to V1 by V2. Now sin I by sin R is equal to V1 by V2. Now instead of V, we replace by this term C by refractive index. That means this equal to C by N1, because assume that the refractive index of first medium is N1, by C by N2, second medium refractive index. So this gets cancelled out. This equal to N2 by N1. That means sin I by sin R is equal to N2 by N1, which explains the Snell's law. So in this way, we can explain the refraction of plane wavefront. Okay. Once again I repeat, assume that two parallel rays are incident. A plane wavefront is incident on this surface GH separating two different medium of refractive index N1 and N2, so that their velocity of light in that mediums are V1 and V2 respectively. Now when the ray reaches the point A, the second ray is at the position B. After t seconds, it reaches C, so that BC is equal to V1t, as the velocity of light in that particular medium is V1. But in that time duration, the first ray, which is incident at A, enters into the second medium and it travels a distance equal to AD, which is given by V2 into T, because here we have to take two different velocities, because these two are traveling in two different medium. So this is AD. By taking V2 as circle of radius Vt, we draw an arc which gives the position of the wavefront after t seconds. Now join this point C to D gives the position of the wavefront after t seconds. Now this gives the refracted wavefront and this is the incident wavefront. Now from these two triangles we have, this is I, R, and we have determined I, R. From that triangle ABC we get sin I. From triangle ADC we get sin R. By dividing this, we get this equation. From this, we get V1 by V2 sin I by sin R equal to V1 by V2. But the refractive index of the medium by definition is C by V. From that, velocity of light in a medium is velocity of light in the medium in air by refractive index of the medium. So by substituting this, we get N2 by N1. Therefore, it implies sin I by sin R is equal to N2 by N1. So this explains the refraction of plane wavefront.